Good morning, welcome to the Daily News Podcast. Today is May 23, 2026.
Tulsi Gabbard is stepping down as U.S. Director of National Intelligence, and that's a major shakeup inside the Trump administration. The DNI job is supposed to coordinate the entire intelligence community, so when that chair suddenly opens up, allies, adversaries, and agencies all start asking the same question. Who's steering? The timing matters because Washington is juggling Ukraine, Gaza, China, and big questions over cyber and election security. A leadership change at the top can mean policy drift, slower coordination, or a harder ideological turn, depending on who comes next.
Yeah, that is not a small personnel story. When the intelligence chain gets rattled, it hits everything from diplomacy to military planning. In Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney says Alberta is essential to the country as the province moves closer to a vote on separation. This is one of those stories that sounds regional until you look at the economics. Alberta is a huge energy powerhouse, and any serious separatist push would put pressure on national unity, federal revenue, and investor confidence. Carney stepping in now tells you Ottawa sees this as more than symbolic political theater. Even the path to a referendum could deepen divisions across Canada and raise fresh questions about identity, energy policy, and federal power.
And it's a reminder that political fragmentation isn't just a Europe story or a U.S. story. It's showing up in places that usually market stability as part of the brand. On the war front, Vladimir Putin is vowing retaliation after accusing Ukraine of hitting a student dormitory, while Kyiv says it targeted an elite Russian drone unit in occupied territory. That gap in narratives is important because both sides are fighting on the battlefield and in the information space. What stands out here is escalation risk. Any strike tied to civilians, students, or dense urban areas pushes emotions higher and raises the odds of a harsher Russian response. It also keeps Europe on edge as allies weigh how far this war could widen and how much more support Ukraine may need.
Right, and every new retaliation threat makes diplomacy feel even further away. The longer this goes, the more dangerous miscalculation becomes. A devastating story out of China now. At least 82 people are reported dead after a coal mine explosion in the north of the country. Beyond the scale of the tragedy, this puts a harsh spotlight back on industrial safety and labor conditions. China still depends heavily on coal, and disasters like this expose the human cost behind that dependence. It also raises pressure on regulators and local officials, because every time a mine blast kills dozens of workers, the question is whether safety rules were ignored, under-enforced, or sacrificed for output.
That death toll is staggering. And these stories always cut through the official growth narrative because they show what workers are actually paying on the ground. Moving to business, Anthropic is reportedly close to a new funding round that could top $30 billion and value the company above $900 billion. If that number holds, it's another sign that investors are still pouring historic money into frontier AI despite real concerns over costs, power demand, and whether the business models justify the hype. It would also intensify the race with OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft, because giant private valuations don't just reflect optimism. They create pressure to move faster, spend bigger, and dominate market share before the window closes.
That's the wild part. Even with all the talk about AI bubbles, the checks just keep getting bigger. On the tech side, Google has reportedly cut Gemini enterprise pricing by 20%, and that tells you the AI price war is getting serious. This isn't just about offering a discount. It's about trying to lock in enterprise customers before they standardize around a rival platform. Cheaper tools could speed up adoption, but they also put margin pressure on everyone in the space. So while companies are selling AI as the future of productivity, they may also be racing toward a future where the product gets cheaper before it gets reliably profitable.
And that's where the market gets tricky. Winning users fast is great, but if everybody slashes prices at once, scale doesn't automatically mean strong returns. And to wrap up, SpaceX launched Starship V3 for the first time, a big milestone for its heavy lift program, but lost the booster on return. That makes this a very SpaceX story, genuine progress paired with very visible risk. Starship is central to the company's long-term plans for deep space missions, big satellite deployment, and eventually Mars ambitions. So even a partial success matters. The key takeaway is that the system is still advancing, but it's not yet close to routine, low-risk operations.
That's it for today. Thanks for starting your morning with us.
We'll be back tomorrow with the stories that matter and the context you need. Have a great day.